You're listening to The Morning Show. I'm Brandon Iron here on KGMN Super Country. On phones with me this morning is the great John Michael Montgomery. John, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, great, Brandon. Thank you.
Hey, it's nice to have you on the phone.
yeah, you know, that's the phone for me is sometimes it's hard to, if I'm like corralling a cat.
And when you're busy, you're busy. What can I say?
Yeah.
So where are you at? Are you in Kentucky right now, or are you on your way out here?
No, I'm still in Kentucky, but we're getting ready to saddle up, and me and the band crew and everything, and get ready to head out that way and spend a few days out there. It's been a while since I've been to Laughlin, so and of course I like going out there because the weather's usually way better than it is here in Kentucky.
It's gorgeous right now.
And of course I always check the weather forecast just in case I might be able to sneak out and play a little round of golf at that really nice golf course right up the road. So.
I'm sure you'll be able to. The weather's gorgeous right now.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, then I'll be bringing my clubs for sure.
Yeah, bring your clubs. It's so cool having you on. You're playing the Riverside Don Laughlin's Casino. You'll be playing January 29th, 30th, and 31st. It's a great casino.
Yeah. You know, I tell people all the time, especially Laughlin, you know, it's a hidden gem, you know, for an artist, like myself, you know, enjoy going out there because I've been out there before. And, the casinos are usually very nice, and the slot machines and the tables are pretty forgiving too. I've had a little bit of luck out there myself, so, but just more than anything, it really is just a very neat part of Nevada that a lot of people, you know, don't know about, believe it or not, especially out this way. And so I look forward to getting back there and hanging out a few days and, you know, playing my music for the fans.
That's great. Can't wait to get you out here. You know, I was partying all last week with your cousin, Christy Atkins.
Christy, huh?
Yeah, Christy was out here in town, and they were up in Vegas for a while. Then they came down, spent a week here at my house, and she just left and went back to Kentucky.
Oh yeah. We are kin, thing, and but hopefully down the road, you know, we'll be able to hook up and hang out a little bit more. But I hear she's, career's coming along real well.
Yeah, she's doing good. She was out here, pushing her artist.
Yeah.
So, hey, how about Kentucky basketball?
Well, you know what? All I can say is we are right now winning by the hair of our chinny chin, and and we'll take it. I mean, Duke obviously lost the other day, and we have come so close to losing here in 2015. And of course, I mean, obviously the talent that we have, all the talk about going undefeated and everything is loud here in Kentucky as it is everywhere else. And there's no doubt we have the talent and the players to do it. That old undefeated rock gets heavier and heavier as the season goes along, and I definitely think they'll kind of feel it. A lot of times we're like, okay, just go ahead and get one loss out of the way and get that off your shoulder so you can focus on the championship, But obviously in a perfect world, we'd love to be able to go undefeated and win the national championship.
Absolutely. I love watching Kentucky basketball. It's very exciting. It's the best college basketball out there.
Well, being a big Blue fan and growing up there in Central Kentucky, I'm not going to argue with you on that.
Good. I love checking out your album covers. You seem to have that same black hat on in all your covers. What kind of hat is that?
Well, the one I've been wearing lately, Stetson, and but each year I'll switch up. Sometimes I used to do what they call the Charlie One Horse.
That's what I wear.
But a lot of times, at the end of the year, I give them away for charity and autograph them, and then sometimes I'll, like on New Year's Eve, I'll throw my last one out into the crowd, and then I'll start going on a hat shopping, and see what's out there, and seeing if what other brands and stuff. Usually the style is always really close to the same style, but companies sometimes I may change up. But definitely, I guess when it comes to hats, I'm not married to any one hat company, so I just kind of move around a little bit.
I love the hat. I always wear Charlie One Horse. I'm a one horse guy too. So
Yeah, you know, I've always been a fan of theirs, and of course they, you know, when they got bought out here a few years back, you know, they went through a few changes and everything. So I think my brother, you know, he still wears the Charlie One Horse, and you know, maybe next year I may find me a Charlie One Horse I like and start wearing it again.
who's older, you or Ed?
Eddie is 16 months older than me, and it's a funny story because we grew up with our mom and dad playing music on the weekends. Dad being the lead singer, lead guitar player, mom being a lead singer, drummer in a band, and me and Eddie, I was a rhythm guitar player, and Eddie took over the jobs playing drums from mom, and she started, like playing tambourine and stuff. And then me and Eddie put our own band together after we got out of high school and started playing some local bars around. And as a three-part piece band, we had a buddy bass player that played with us. And then, we started playing Austin City Saloon in Lexington 5 nights a week back around 85, 86. And when we actually hired Troy Gentry into the band as an acoustic player-singer, so he was actually in my band for about a year. And believe it or not, his dad owned a bar or a restaurant called The Grapevine. And me and Troy talked his dad into letting me and him do a little acoustic show together on Sundays to help pick up the crowd a little bit. So I tell people all the time, the original Montgomery Gentry was really me and Troy. I made it. I came out in 92 with Life's a Dance, and then Eddie went out on the road with me for about 3 years, and then him and Troy got back together and, and started doing the duo thing. And then, of course, in 97, 98, they put out the Hillbilly Shoes album and everything. And very unique story that, all three of us were able to come out of this one little area right here in central Kentucky and do well in the music business and have the success we have. But Eddie loves it when people think that he's the younger one. Since I came out first, I'm getting ready to have a birthday. I'm getting ready to turn 50, and he's been 50 for a couple of years now. And it's driving him crazy that old John Boy's still in his 40s,
Yes.
And, I'm going to have a big throwdown birthday party, 50th birthday party, and there ain't no telling what he's got up his sleeve. I can tell you that right now because my brother, he's the biggest prankster in the world. He loves to aggravate people. So, but I tell you, we've had, to be two brothers growing up so close together. We grew up, in central Kentucky. We lived on farmhouses, trailer parks, just moved about 15 times, and we lived like gypsies growing up because Mom and Dad loved to pick music on the weekends, and we always rented our homes. We never really owned a home, so we moved a lot. Anytime the rent went up, we moved and picked the music and sang every weekend, and we always had musicians over all the time and friends, and it was a great life to grow up in. I never really expected to, be this star or anything like that. It was just we loved doing it so much. We didn't want to give it up. Me and Eddie was like, hey, let's just keep picking and singing until we get too old to do it. And then we got a record deal along the way, which worked out really well.
Have you ever thought about, doing an album with your brother, a duet or something?
Absolutely. We've talked about it a ton. Back when we were both with major labels, unfortunately the red tape didn't allow us to do that. And we've always been with different booking agencies. So we've had a hard time actually being able to tour together because of the red tape. And now we're both, doing our own thing now. The booking agencies that he's with and I'm with, people, they get along. And so we're hoping that we've toured a little bit last year, but we're hoping that we'll get together and tour some this year together and try to write some songs and try to get in the studio and cut 2 or 3 things. And, so we've got some plans out there. We just got to, he's kind of gone through some changes in his life. He had some, the divorce and stuff like that and everything. Yep. So he's kind of getting all that cleaned up now. And so I think we're going to be able to hang out a lot more together. And, of course, we only live 30 minutes from each other, so you'd think we would do that a lot more. And we actually do hang out a lot as just, meeting somewhere and, watching a football game or something like that. But as far as the music side of it, the singing and touring and all that stuff, and writing and stuff, we're still trying to fit that in.
Now, are you still doing the Stringtown Records?
Yes, I still have that label. That was a label that I started up to put out after I left Warner Brothers. I put that label out to put Time Flies album out, and so I still own that album and the label. I just, after I put that out, got busy on the road, and it just didn't seem to. I didn't have the drive to want to do it again, until here lately. So I'm actually hoping that we'll might be able to go in the studio. I've been talking to Doug Johnson, who produced the Life's a Dance album, and he's possibly interested in maybe cutting 3 or 4 sides on me. We're talking about coming full circle,
Yeah.
and just having some fun and seeing what we come up with. We obviously create a little magic back in, so that would be kind of a fun direction to go in. Right now, I tell people all the time, getting on stage and touring will always be my favorite thing to do, because that's what I cut my teeth at, getting on stage and singing. And 5 nights a week, I still love it. And obviously, getting the record deals and having the hits expanded that out to the rest of the world. So I'm, obviously very blessed to have that happen to me. So I'd like to get back in the studio and cut some new stuff, but
I can't wait.
I'm like Willie Nelson, man. I'd love to get on that bus and get out there and go from place to place and sing my songs,
Man, I can't wait till you put something new out. Your last album, was it Time Flies?
Yes, it was.
And that came out in 2008. Incredible lineup on the album as far as songwriters go. You had, at the time, an unknown Luke Bryan wrote a song on there. Jamie Johnson is all over it. You had Kristen on there before he joined the Still Drivers. You had some great songwriters on your last album, sort of picking them all out, and look where they've come now. Talk about full circle, Luke just winning his big award and stuff, and you really had his songs out before anyone even knew who Luke was.
Yeah, I had run into Luke back when he was, doing more writing than he was, artist stuff, and he was trying to obviously get, be an artist. And he was, I think he had time. He was actually writing songs and getting them cut by other artists. And I would see him in that quite often at a place that we frequented there whenever we'd come into town. And, of course, when I was cutting Time Flies, he gave me that song, and of course I fell in love with it. I just at that time, it was a funny song. Still is funny, but like you said, I'm sitting there thinking, well, if this kid gets a record out and he's still writing stuff as good as he's pitching out there, he shouldn't have any problem. And of course, obviously, he hasn't. He's done very well for himself. And Jamie, I would see down there a lot too, and I told him, I was like, hey, brother, won't you pitch me some stuff? I'd like to cut, some stuff by, because I liked his stuff too, and he would play me some of the stuff, that he was getting ready to go in the studio with. I was like, man, that's so cool, and of course, I got attention to him back, when he wrote it, and
your phone
can't give it away. Oh, am I breaking up a little bit?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. So where was the big clubs that they were playing down in Nashville?
Well, actually, what we were doing was they would come into town to ride or stuff, and we had a couple of places that we would all go kind of hang out at, have a cold one, and it's kind of like a secret spot for us all to get together.
Nice.
And hang out and talk, and everything, and, and it still is, that spot is still there, and, from time to time, I don't go down there as much as I used to, but I guarantee you, they still pop in there from time to time and have a cold one when they're in town. I just kind of got to know them, and I got to know a few other of the newer artists that were coming in and everything. And, of course, I had already been on the road for several years. So, it was intriguing to them, I guess, to see me in there and, of course, ask me questions and stuff about everything. And as a writer, obviously to get a cut by another artist, it's quite an accomplishment. Even me, if I was to write a song and Luke wanted to cut it, I would be as proud as if I cut it,
Absolutely.
Just that you're able to create something that somebody else likes as well as you do. Nashville has certain places that the artists and the songwriters know, to hang out at, and where they can, they can kind of still go in and have a cold one, sit around, and just, I guess people that's kind of in that Nashville circle kind of know where they're at. And then, of course, you do have the more touristy areas, that once in a while, that we'll go down there and check them out, because it's very neat. Nashville's just a neat town, but the it's a unique place, Nashville. So that's I always felt like I was able to appreciate it more by not living there.
Yep.
I still look at Nashville as this really neat place. I think if I lived there, it would be like living on the beach. It just doesn't. When you go to the beach every year for a week or two, it's like, wow, that's a vacation. But if you lived on the beach every day, then it's just like, well, it's just home,
Yep.
So me and my brother both, I guess we kind of took after George Strait in a way. I mean, we come in and visit, and when we're there, we try to enjoy ourselves, have a good time, try to make some music, and then we go back home and hang out with our buddies that we grew up with.
It seems like I always end up down at Losers whenever I'm in Nashville.
Yeah. Hey, well, Losers is definitely one of the hot spots that us artists like to go into, because we all love Irv, of course, and he's in there a lot. And before Losers was there was a place called Longhorns, and now it's called Music Row. But we used, back in the 90s, early 90s and all that, I mean, when you came into town, and if you went into Longhorns, you would see me, Toby Keith, maybe Tim McGraw, Kenny Chesney. We all be in there at the same time, hanging out, And all the songwriters that had all the big hits out at the time, they'd be in there. Because guess what? They'd come in there and go, hey, man, I just wrote this. Take a listen to it,
Yep.
We'd go, okay. And I guarantee you, I can know there was 2 or 3 songs that got handed to me while I was in Longhorns, coming in off the road, just hanging out, having a cold. And they had just come in from a session, some of the writers, and going, they know that they're liable to see one of us there. And that was the first pitch. Before the publishing company even got to send it out to the labels, a lot of times the songwriter would go, hey, I know where I can get this song heard, right to the horse's mouth. And so it was kind of cool. And then that closed down, and Irv built Losers there to kind of help soften the blow, because that was like our favorite place. And then and so that whole area now is like really, it's kind of a little mix between college and but Losers is it's I would say my favorite bar to go have a cold one right now.
That's cool. It's definitely one of mine too. It's the first bar that opens after all the other bars close in Nashville.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And it was in opening in that spot right there. Was, like I said, Irv. He's a Nashville cat, so he knew exactly what he needed to do and when to do it.
You're listening to the Brandon Irons Show. We're on the phone with John Michael Montgomery. He's playing the Riverside in Laughlin the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st. Can't wait to catch your show. I'll definitely be over there. When Kicking It Up came out in 1994, just a quick story. I was 15 years old, and this girl, I'm from a little town in DuBois, Wyoming, all right?
Oh, okay.
This girl moved to town. She had a car, and she was from Michigan. And, at the time, we were all on our feet walking around or riding our bikes,
right.
and she had a car, and she was jamming Kicking It Up all the time. Like, that was the first time I ever heard of you. She was playing you in her car, and I remember I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, you got to get me this CD, and she's like, okay, so she bought me the Kicking It Up album. I listened to it nonstop. I literally memorized every single song on the album, and I went to town. I was walking around town, and I saw her cruising Maine, and I flagged her down, and out of the blue, I just said, could you give me a ride home? And she was like, well, sure. It was probably the second time I ever talked to her. And so she went ahead and gave me a ride home. From Main Street to my house was 3 miles. We listened to the first 3 songs on your album, and I sung every word with her to it. When she dropped me off at my house, she goes, you're a lot of fun. I'll see you tomorrow. And I'm going, oh my God, I just got like my first girlfriend, and she's 18 years old with a car, But I swear, I hit the mother load, but it was all because I knew the words to Kicking It Up in your album, man.
Well, man, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. So, well, I never thought that I'd ever be, that kind of star or anything, I mean, when I got my hit records, I was as surprised as everybody else was. And then I got really surprised how much people really liked the stuff I sang. And then you kind of start realizing, well, maybe I was meant to do this, And so it's great to hear those stories like that, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely would say go to the studios and do your thing. I know there's a lot of listeners out here. I posted on Facebook that you were coming on the show today, and it blew up. And the #1 comment below my comment is, he's my favorite. You know, everybody loves your stuff. And I know a lot, when I told people you were coming on, people were going, does he have any new stuff out? And it's like, no, he don't. It drives me crazy, too.
Well, it was funny that you say that because, you know, when I was talking to Doug Johnson, who cut the Life's a Dance album and all that, you know, he was like, yeah, he said, I want to cut some John Michael Montgomery music on you, you know. And I was like, okay, I've never really heard it put like that. But, you know, I guess, you know, there's a certain style that I've got, like Waylon would have, and, you know, that you just think of when you think of Johnny Cash or Waylon Jennings or Willie Nelson or George Strait. There's a style that we all have, and you know, and that's what the people love to hear, you know, and it's kind of like, well, hey, let's go in and do that, and let's see if my fans out there agree with it, you know.
Yeah, we can't wait until you put something else out, John. Incredible albums, like I said, a huge fan of all your stuff. It's nice talking to you because you're so laid back.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. You know, life has been good to me, and so has the music. So, you know, I have no complaints here. You know, I've been, like I said, I've been very blessed, and of course, you know, I got two teenagers, one 18 and one 15 years old, getting ready to turn 16. So,
wow.
You know, I'm having, you know, I've been blessed in that way too. Of course, you know, I have two healthy kids and watch them grow up. So I guess when they get out of high school and into college, I ain't really going to have nothing left to do except get back on the road and write some songs and make some albums. You know, because I'm going to have a lot of time on my hands.
Have the kids? Do your kids know how big you are?
Well, you know, I don't think they ever really know how. You know, I mean, how big? I mean, they get online and stuff, and you know, and they've been able to go back because you know, I've got these awards in my case here, and they go, so Dad, what are those things anyway? I'm like, well, you know, that's a Grammy nomination, and that's you know, them the ACMAs and the ACMs, all them. You know, I said, that's what that is. They went, oh, you won some of them? I went, yeah, I won a few of them. Yeah,
a few of them. Yep, I won a few of those.
And you know, and so you know, they go up to the rooms and they get like online and stuff, and they're probably. But it's just hard for them to really put the two and two together because I'm just, you know, just dad, you know, and yeah, I go out and sing for a living and all that, but they just can't even fathom that, you know, like Luke Bryan is today. That, you know, back in the '90s, that's, you know, I was kind of like in that same category for the '90s, you know, as far as headlining and touring and having hits and, you know, and award shows and stuff like that. It's for them, it's just kind of hard for them to conceive that Dad, you know, might have been as popular as like Luke Bryan or somebody.
Yes, you were.
At one time, you know, and I was like, and they said, well, how come you know, what's, you know, and I'm like, well, you know, I had my time. I said, I still got my fans out there, and they like my music, but Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, everybody has the time that they get played a lot on radio, and then, you know, then the next crowd comes in, and that doesn't mean your career's over, but you know, you're not probably going to get heard on the current radio as much as you'd like to, and so they're kind of starting to understand a little bit more about how it all is. But I don't think they'll ever completely connect the dots. When I was, you know, in the '90s and in my heyday, you know, I'm always just going to be Dad, you know, that had a few hit records, and you know, that the kids that go to school that have the famous Dad, you know.
Yep.
And they still like, oh, you know, they're like, my friend said that his mom was like your biggest fan. You know? And they're like, why is that, you know? Fun, you know.
I'm sure they know Uncle Ed's pretty famous then.
Oh yeah, you know, they definitely keep up with it all. And you know, my two kids they're very talented themselves, you know, but you know, I told them, I said, look, we're gonna do school and college. And if you all still want to try to make it in the music business, old Dad do what he can to help you out. But I said, George Strait, Brad Paisley, I can go on and on. All went to college, and guess what? Didn't hurt your career one bit. So I said, guess what you all going to do?
Go to
y'all
college.
Go to college. That's, you know, if you end up being country music, started down the road, fine, but you're going to go to college.
Do they sing well as of right now? As a dad,
they're coming along. You know, as I would call it, developing very well. As you know, the voices are getting stronger, pitches are getting better, and the understanding of what, you know, a little bit more about what being on stage and all that stuff is. But yet, you know, they still got a little ways to go. So I'm not, you know, when they get into college and everything, and I feel like it's, that they're at a point in their life where they're ready to maybe go take to the studio or something and cut some things on and see how it comes out, I'll be right there with them. But until then, I'm just going to push education and education. The bottom line is, we all know, and I try to tell them, what happened to me is still, it's a very rare thing that happens. Just because you're good at what you do doesn't always mean, that you're going to be able to do it at a high level, whether you're a basketball player, football player, hockey player, singer, actor. Just because you're good at it doesn't guarantee you're going to be famous at it or anything like that. So you need to have a backup plan. And
education is a great backup plan.
Yeah, very good backup plan.
Very good backup plan. Are you a big hunter? Do you get out and hunt at all?
Yes. Yeah, I love to, of course, I tell people all the time, the reason I love golf so much is because I'm hunting for my golf ball so much. And but I grew up in here in Kentucky where everybody around me, and we still do. I mean, we love deer hunt, we love to bird hunt, rabbit hunt, squirrel hunt. Everybody I know around me, we all, we basically a lot of times get out and we don't always much hunt as we just the camaraderie of getting out in the outdoors, and hanging out too. A lot of it's just if you like that, and I have that need to get outside and go hang out on my farm or out on the lake or fishing or whatever. I don't like being in enclosed places for very long. Get me outside. Yeah, me and my buddies, my buddies and everything, we have wild game cookouts and all kinds of stuff. It's, we go to Colorado every year and do an elk hunt, do it yourself, DIY. And stuff like that, something that I've always enjoyed. I think my son, I'm going to be able to pass it on to him. My daughter don't care much about it, and I just, I enjoy everything that comes along with all that too, And
it's in the blood, ain't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've got my collections of rifles and guns and bow and arrows and everything else, man. I just love all that stuff.
Well, speaking of, you brought up golf, and now we just brought up bow and arrow. You know what I got? I have 20 acres here in town, and I set up an archery golf course. So I have 9 holes on my 20 acres, and instead of using a golf club, we're using our bow and arrows.
Oh, that's cool.
Golf rules. Golf rules. I'm a lot more accurate with my arrow than I am my golf ball.
Yeah. It would suit me. What was built more like my bow was,
Yeah.
And where I could just pull it back and then it does the rest.
Yeah.
I had to make sure I aimed it right, And it had a little let off on it and everything, but so I wouldn't overswing and. But, the thing about it is I got in archery hunting back in 94, 95. One of my buddies, I just had met him, and he did a lot of bow hunting and archery, 3D stuff and everything.
Oh,
What? I said, man, I couldn't hit the right side of a barn with a bow. Are you kidding? He said, no, you don't understand. It ain't like it used to be. It's a whole different. And they had just came out with the single cams again. They had them back out in the 70s. It didn't work too well, and they'd come out with the single cam bow again. But he had a company called Bear Archery, whatever.
Yeah.
And he was the first one to make. He was the one that created the compound bow, and he also the company was the one that started the single cam deal, and then. And came out with it in like the late 70s, didn't do so well, and they come back out with it again in the early 90s, and it took off like crazy. So my first bow was, I think, called a Jennings or something made by Bear Archery, and split limb, and my buddy set it up for me, and I started shooting it at 20 yards and was just knocking the center out of it, and I was like, holy cow. If I'd known it was this easy, I would have started this a long time ago,
Yeah.
So, and then I started hunting the live, and, then I realized that just because you can hit that target, I mean, when you pull it back on a big old buck or something, that's a whole different ball game, And so, no, I enjoy it, but I could talk. I got my own bird dog. I train myself. I love to take her bird hunting and stuff and everything. But it's for me. It's gets me away from the same old. I mean, when you're out on the road all the time and you come home, you just want to kind of go somewhere and kind of clean your head. You got to get away from, and hunting and golfing and all that stuff and fishing takes me away and cleans my head out, and then I'm ready for the next trip.
It sounds like a good way to just relax for a while,
Yeah, it's a great way to, yeah. Well, I tell you what, I will give Marty Dillingham, who is my tour manager / drummer.
Yep.
I will give him your name and tell him you're going to be coming, and are you going to bring a friend?
Yeah, I'll bring my wife along.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess she's considered a friend. Yeah.
friend with benefits.
I'll tell Marty that to put your name down on a backstage pass. All you got to do is pick it up at will call.
Cool.
And I'll put you have you a couple of backstage passes set at the will call.
That sounds great, John Michael. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, John Michael Montgomery, for coming on the show. Look at that. We racked up over 30 minutes. So
sounds good, Brandon. I appreciate it.
And appreciate you coming on. Again, playing the Riverside in Laughlin, the 29th, the 30th, 31st. We'll be out there. Can't wait to get you in town. And anytime you get anything new out, think of us. We will push the heck out of it. And we're playing your music all day, every day anyways. So,
all right, man. I'll hold you to it.
All right. Love talking to you. And thank you so much, and have a safe trip coming out here.
Thank you.
All right, bye. You're listening to The Morning Show. I'm Brandon Iron, KGMN Super Country 100.1, the great John Michael Montgomery.